Well, good afternoon, everyone. It is Tuesday, and this is Rent, Sell, Stay. What we're going to be talking about is the move-up homebuyer dilemma. I know I have a lot of experience with this personally, working with clients, and so the objective is this: just to talk about it, to kind of outline some of my experiences with moving up and some of the things I've seen with clients moving up. So if you're live here, this is something that we're going to be doing regularly. Every so often, we're going to go live and talk about a different subject. If there's anything that you want to see or you want to discuss, please let me know. You can always drop a comment, and we'll look at putting some videos together for it, or perhaps going live and having a conversation. With that being said, this is live, so if you are watching, feel free to comment, ask questions, be involved, engaged. And let's just kind of jump into it. And if you watch the replay of this, we will always check the comments and, of course, try to respond as quickly and accurately to any of those. So again, the move-up buyer's dilemma. Should you rent your home? Should you sell your home? Or should you stay in your home? We've heard about the golden handcuffs. There's a lot of people who feel stuck in their home. They're not quite sure what to do. Well, this is just to scratch the surface and to help you make that determination, which is the right rent, sell, or stay. So we're talking about how to access your current equity in your home. We'll talk about bridge loans versus HELOCs, or doing debt consolidations, the real costs and gains of renting your home. We'll talk about selling, at least from my perspective, being a mortgage lender, tax implications of renting versus selling, and how your rental income is factored when looking to purchase a home. And honestly, how sometimes staying put might be the best move. So we're going to cover a lot in this. We're going to try to keep it to a somewhat tight timeline. Again, just depends, if there's questions and things, how long we'll go over. I'm anticipating this being anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes. So I don't want to take too much of the time to talk about me, but if you're here, you might know me. If you don't, my name is Tim Kelly. I am a mortgage loan officer right outside of Washington, D.C. I've been in this industry for right around 18 years, and my goal with this channel, wherever you're watching this, most likely on YouTube, the goal of this channel is to help you manage your mortgage and provide financing tips for your real estate goals. So if that interests you, definitely stick around. Feel free to subscribe, hit the notification bell. There's a lot of content coming out in 2026, or at least that's the plan. Leveraging your current equity. This is really important to kind of discuss, because the timing of this really can make all the difference in the world. Equity in your home is essentially dead money. It's part of your net worth calculation, so you could say, but you can't really access it easily. You have to usually go out and get a loan against the property to tap into the equity, or you need to sell the home. So if you are planning on moving up and you are planning on using that equity in the home, how you approach it, when you approach it, is really, really key. My suggestion, if you're completely unsure, you don't know if you're going to stay put, or you don't know when you're going to move, but you're going to either need to tap the equity to use for a down payment on another property, either your primary residence or perhaps another investment property. Use the equity to renovate your current home to make it meet your current family needs, to update it, to properly maintain it, or look at doing some debt consolidation. You probably want to look at getting the HELOC now. Don't wait. This often happens and becomes an issue because people try to get a HELOC and go out and buy a new home, a new primary residence, literally at the same time. And the issue that you're going to run into is called the occupancy issue. When you're getting the HELOC, you're calling, typically, I would assume, you're going to call the property your primary residence. And so that's going to limit your ability to then go out and say, hey, I just got this HELOC last week. Now this week I'm going out and buying a primary residence. That kind of is in a really gray area, right? Which one is truly your primary residence? Were you making false assumptions on your application for the HELOC, or did you not, disclose things properly? So the timing can be really key, and that's why if you have any of those interests and you need to access the equity in your home, you probably want to get the HELOC now. Don't wait. Life happens, things and circumstances change all the time. Totally get it and understand how that's everyone's reality, right? But you need to make sure that you are timing things correctly. So you can go out and get the HELOC in place, and it's like a credit card, right? A HELOC is a line of credit where your home is the collateral. So you're only going to make the payments on the amount that you borrow. So if you have the line in place, but you don't actually use it, you're not going to be making any payments on it. Depends on where you get the HELOC. There could be an annual fee or things like that. But typically, just having it ready to be used when you need it is really going to put you in the best position to make the right choice and not have to, go through all these extra hoops later on. So if you are still undecided, not sure what you want to do, just get the HELOC, get it in place, have it ready to go, so you can use the HELOC, the line of credit, to fix up your home, consolidate debt, or down the road when you do find another home you want to move into, you can use the HELOC as a source of funds for the down payment. But a HELOC is a line of credit. The interest rate can vary depending on your current situation, credit scores, loan to value. There isn't like a general, here's everyone's HELOC rate. It's going to be different depending on what bank or lender you go to. But typically your HELOC interest rate is going to be attached to the prime rate. And it could be prime, plus or minus 0.25%, for example. And it can adjust. As the prime rate changes, the interest rate in your HELOC is going to change. And again, just like a credit card, you're only going to make payments on the balance that you have used on the line of credit. You can typically get a line of credit, a home equity line of credit, anywhere from 75 to 80%. There's a lot of places today that will let you borrow up to 90%, even 100% of your current home's value. So you have potential to get a lot of access to the equity in your home. Now, the difference between a HELOC and a home equity loan is, with a home equity loan, it is a fixed rate. And you're going to start making payments back on that loan right out of the gate. Unlike the line of credit, you're only going to be making payments on what you've drawn on the line. Or the home equity loan, you're basically getting all of the funds at the closing table or when the loan funds. And so you have to start making payments back on that right away. And typically, from what I've experienced, these home equity loans, these closed-end second trusts, can be anywhere from 15 to 20 years. I haven't seen very many 30-year fixed second mortgages. They used to be pretty common. They might still be out there today. I don't know. But I don't think, for my situation where I was kind of talking about earlier, I wouldn't do the home equity loan unless you are specifically using it for something like right away, like a renovation or debt consolidation. Again, if you're not sure what you're going to be using the funds for exactly, because you're not sure if you're going to be renting, selling, or staying in your home, the HELOC might be the best option for you. And again, best to get that in place today. Where the home equity loan is probably a good option if you already know exactly what you're going to be doing, and you just want to start making steady, regular payments and start paying off the loan. The home equity loan might be a good option for you. Okay, both of those are in second lien position, so your first mortgage that you currently have are going to remain unchanged and they're going to remain in place. So there's nothing you need to do there. You'll continue to make the mortgage payments as normal on your current first mortgage, and then you'll have the payments on these second trusts, second mortgages, depending on the note and the type of loan that you get. Again, with a HELOC, it's based on the amount that you've drawn. With a home equity loan, all the funds from the loan, the proceeds, you're given to at the time of funding, so you have to start making payments right away. With the HELOC too, you'll have an initial draw period. So again, you can't just have the HELOC and forget about it. Typically, you're going to have anywhere 5 or 10 years where you have to make the draw. After that period of time, the HELOC will freeze. You won't be able to take out any extra equity in the home or use your HELOC for more leverage. You'll start making fully amortizing payments after that draw period. So every HELOC can be a little bit different. It could be a 30-year term. It could be a 20-year term. There could be a balloon at the end of it. You want to really just to kind of discuss that with the person who's providing you the HELOC about all the different options about how to structure that. But getting that ready to go is the best solution, and that's going to help you be able to be more nimble and have easier access than you would if you didn't have it in place. Now, if you don't have it in place and you want to move up, there are still ways that you could access the equity of your home. One way is with a bridge loan, and we'll do a whole nother video on bridge loans because there's a lot more that we can talk about with these. But bridge loans, it's kind of similar to a HELOC. However, you don't have to worry about the occupancy question. That doesn't put you in a gray area, because when you're doing the bridge loan, you're specifically saying that this is not going to be my primary residence. I'm buying another home. I'm moving up or downsizing, what have you. And that you can use a bridge loan to access the equity and use that to fund the down payment on the new home. And you could do a couple different things with the bridge loan. With a cash out refinance, again, if you're staying put and you have debt that you need to consolidate, you can always just do a traditional refinance, take some equity out, since that's your equity, you own it now, unlike when you purchase the home. So you could take the equity out and you can use the equity to do what you want with. Pay off debt, invest in other properties, buy a second home, renovate the property. What you're doing is you're refinancing, but you're getting more out than you currently owe. So the difference, that equity is given to you at the time of closing. And something to kind of consider if you have a lot of credit card debt or other debt. Sometimes giving up that lower interest rate to get a slightly higher interest rate might make more sense, because the interest rate on your other loans, credit cards, installment loans, might be higher than the interest rate on this mortgage. So you really have to run a detailed analysis to figure out what the best option is. But there's a lot of different ways that you could access the equity in your home. A bridge loan is really in that sweet spot where you just found the home, weren't really thinking about it, but your dream home hit the market. You want to see if the numbers can work. You haven't gotten your home ready to sell. A bridge loan is an excellent solution that could get you to the new home. Again, tap into the equity on your current house and then use the equity towards the down payment on the new home. And if you run into issues qualifying, carrying both mortgages, a bridge loan kind of solves that. So it's a really, really good option. We can spend a lot more time talking about it. And then again, a cash out refinance, that's pretty straightforward, and we've kind of already discussed it. So there's a lot of different ways you can access the equity. So when you're sitting down and trying to figure out what you should do, should you rent, should you sell, or should you stay? These are some things that you want to kind of consider. So we'll go through each of these options individually and then kind of bring everything together. And again, if you have any questions, let me know, or if you're watching this on a replay, just drop them in the comments and we'll go back. And if there's anything that you want to see more, just definitely let us know. I am going to be putting a lot more time and energy into this channel. I'm trying to put out content that is helpful, so don't be a stranger. So rent. Why would you rent? If you're moving away temporarily, you're getting relocated for work. For example, if military, we have a lot of people who might, get stationed somewhere that they love and they want to move back to because the kids have relationships here. You've got people in the State Department or other government agencies or different companies that you require them to be relocated temporarily. Perhaps you want to just rent out your current home because you're going to end up coming back there when you return. So you're moving temporarily. You want to generate rental income. The next few kind of align with that. The rental demand in your market is high, your expected home values to increase, and you've got a great mortgage rate. So if you really sit down and kind of run the numbers, and perhaps you've refinanced back when interest rates were historically low, you're in a market that continues to grow. People are from all over the country are relocating to your area, so the demand for housing is high. Not everyone's going to be able to buy a home right out of the gate, so there's always the potential for people moving to the area needing rental properties, and you've got a great rental market. If the numbers and the math make sense, perhaps you want to just convert your home into an investment property. I often tell people, especially first-time home buyers, that the first home you purchase is your first investment property. And so if you have that property, that these numbers make all the sense in the world for you to hold on to that property, put a tenant in there because you've got some good positive cash flow coming with the renter, by all means, that's a great opportunity there. But the thing that I liked about our first rental property, it was always nice to have the flexibility. Should we ever needed to move back into our home, downsize, what have you. Having it there and still being the owner, it always felt like you have a place to go, a place to stay. So the flexibility that it offers is really nice. And again, you're just starting off this real estate, building a real estate portfolio, whether it's a first property or not. So there's some things that you can really consider and sit down about when renting makes more sense. And a few things to consider is your financing. Depending on where you live, there's a lot of legal and regulations when it comes to tenant protection versus landlord protection. You also, we'll talk about tax implications here briefly, but there are significant tax implications. And then what's your responsibility? Are you ready to be a landlord? It's basically giving yourself another job. You're going to hire a property manager to help you. And again, the market conditions. So you want to really consider all of those things before you make the determination to rent. I know a lot of people talk about it, don't give up those low interest rates. But if you're in a state where the tenant has a lot more rights than the landlord and you get a bad tenant in there and all of a sudden they stop paying rent, but you have very little power, that might not be the best, investment property for you, or the best timing. If you're in a situation where perhaps, one of your area's larger employers is relocating or moving out of the area, there's employment issues, that might not be a good time to rent your home or a good condition. So also you got to think about the tax implications. Now, I'm not a CPA, I'm not an accountant. You really need to sit down and consult your own personally to see what your situation is like. But this is a very, very, very important thing to consider is the tax implications of renting out your property. The last bullet point there, the capital gains tax, that is a very important thing to kind of consider just based off of how you file your taxes, what your income is, how long you plan on renting out your home. That's one of the reasons why we ended up selling our rental property when we did, is we were going to try and avoid the capital gains tax. Now, if you're going to continue to rent, you can't always do a 1031 exchange and not have any capital gains tax. But we were not using the proceeds from selling our rental property towards a 1031 exchange or buying a like investment property. So we were exiting the investment market at the time, so it's not something that really made sense for us. So we ended up getting rid of it. But there's significant passive and deductions that you can take. It depends on you file your taxes. So you want to sit down with your CPA. Your tax professional. If you don't have one, this is a great time to get one, because this ultimately will surprise a lot of people who do go out and rent out their existing home, that all of a sudden, perhaps it wasn't as profitable as they originally thought. But at the same time, you can use it as a tool to kind of bring down your taxable income too. So there's a lot of different levers that you can play around with when it comes to a rental property. So definitely consult your tax professional. If you want to go out and buy another home, you're going to need to understand that you have to qualify carrying your current mortgage and the new mortgage. Okay, and a lot of people, that might not be an issue. They qualify for a new home carrying their existing mortgage and the new mortgage. But there are situations often where you have to qualify carrying both properties, but only if you are able to get a tenant in there and rent out the existing home. So each different type of financing is going to have different guidelines and regulations when it comes to what rental income can be used. Most often we're dealing with conventional financing in these move-up scenarios. So if that's the case, if you have a 12-month lease agreement on the property with a copy of an evidence that you've received a security deposit and the first month rent check, we can take up to 75% of the rental income that you're going to be receiving to offset your current housing payment. If the 75% is more than your principal and interest, taxes, insurance, your housing payment that you currently have, we're not able to include that additional income. It's literally only just to offset your current housing payment. And you need to have those things in place: the lease, the security deposit, and the first month's rent check, and evidence that those checks have been deposited and cleared into your bank account. So the timing of getting that lease in place and getting the tenant who has the ability to write the checks is really, really important. Again, that's if you need to use the rental income to qualify. If you're using FHA financing, that new home that you're purchasing has to be more than 100 miles away from your existing home for us to be able to use the rent. With a VA loan for veterans or active duty service members, we can use the rental income, and USDA financing, rental income is not allowed to be used to offset your current housing payment. So it's really important that you sit down with a loan professional if you do plan on renting out your home and seeing what you can qualify for, carrying your existing mortgage. Because if you need to rent out your home and you plan on doing that, you need to make sure you time things out with your real estate agent about getting your home on the market, ready to be listed for rent, getting a tenant in there, and getting, again, that 12-month lease with the security deposit and the first month's rent checks. So no questions about rental, so we're just going to move on to selling. So we just recently sold our home a year ago, so I'll kind of talk about a little bit of our experience in that, and few things to consider. When is it right to sell? When it's favorable for the market conditions, the home values have appreciated significantly, life-changing, family size, you need to be relocated for a job, you've outgrown the home, it's too small, the cost to maintain the property has been kind of just made the property a little bit more burdensome, it's no longer your dream home, and again, family size and then tax and financial planning all play a role on when it makes sense to sell the property. So in our situation, the homes that we've purchased have all been nearly 50 years old. And the most recent home that we owned was over 50 years old, and we were just pouring a lot of money into maintaining the property. And it wasn't doing things that were for enjoyment. It wasn't doing things that were enhancing the value. It was literally just making the house livable. And it was a significant amount of money. From what I've found, it's hard to say like exactly what the cost is to maintain a home, but I think in general, what I've seen and read is that you should plan anywhere for around 1% of the home's value. So a $500,000 home, you're going to spend at least $5,000 a year just maintaining it, not increasing the value, not making it, more of your dream home. It's just to kind of maintain it. And if you have an older home like we did, that could jump up to 4% of the home's value. And so we were in a position where it just didn't make any sense for us to continue to hold on to this property. If we're only appreciating 4% a year and we're spending 2% of the home's value just to maintain it, it wasn't a very good investment for us. And so we ended up deciding to sell it rather than continue to live in the home or rent it out. And so that's something everybody needs to understand. When you are renting out a home, you have to continue to maintain the home to keep it livable for your tenant. So for us, it just didn't make any sense to do that. So we ended up selling the home, and we ended up selling the home and putting it on the market last September. So September 2025. 2024, which was an election year, which it was the worst time in 30 years to sell a home. When we were getting the house on the market, putting it out there, we weren't aware that we were heading into the worst time to list a home for 30 years. But it ended up taking us roughly about 4 months to get it sold. And during that time, we had to maintain the property. We had to continue to make mortgage payments on that new home and payments on our new place. So it became a very costly, I wouldn't say mistake, but a lesson was learned for sure. You've got to look at putting it on the market when the market it's favorable for you. Okay, and seasonality, depending on where you live, all of that can play a major role. So be sure to talk to your real estate professional and talk about the market, when's the right time to sell. And everybody's market's different, okay? So seasonality, market trends, and personal readiness. Again, what really prevented us from getting the house on the market quickly is because we weren't ready. There was things that we were planning on doing to the property, and the person that come out there to do the home, it just took them a few months to do it, and ended up delaying our home getting listed when we were in the hot spring market. around May is when we decided that we wanted to sell our house, but we weren't ready and we didn't have the home listed until September, which then brought us to the worst time in 30 years. So being ready, don't sit on those honeydew projects you have in your house. If you are thinking about selling your home in 30 days, in 12 months, in 2 years, start taking care of those small little things, because it's going to make all the difference in your ability to sell the home and get it ready quickly. So paint the rooms that need to be painted, tighten the screws that need to be tightened, fix the things that need to be fixed in your home. Don't wait until the last minute, and don't procrastinate on those things. Start, making the list and taking care of a few of those things as best as you can. So be ready. It is something that I was not prepared for. Selling a home is certainly one of the most stressful experiences that I've had in my entire life. Selling my primary residence. When it was my rental property and it was vacant, no issues. A few headaches, but no big issues. But when it's your primary residence, you've got small children, you're moving, you're doing all these things, it can create a lot of stress and a lot of friction in your work, in your relationships. So be sure to start getting ready, doing those small things, decluttering right out of the gate. Tax implications, again, consult your CPA and your tax professionals. There are certain things you need to kind of think about. If you're selling a property that I can't answer, because everyone's situation is going to be a little bit different. So timeline is really, really important, especially if you are needing to sell the home in order to go buy the new home. Everyone's market's a little bit different. A couple of years ago here in our market, it was almost impossible to make your offer not contingent upon you selling your home and have a chance at getting your offer accepted. Right now, it's we're seeing a good number of people in that situation have success, but everybody's scenario, everyone's market's a little bit different. Everyone's real estate agent's a little bit different. Some are really good when it comes to that situation, and some I've experienced are not the best. So number one, consult your local real estate professionals. Find someone that is going to deliver for you, that has not that you know personally, or you worked with before, but can show you cases that they were successful for a similar situation such as yours. Ones that were able to get properties sold quickly for top dollar and can give you honest feedback if the property is ready to sell. But everyone's market's different. Not only where you live, but also your price range, how fast things sell. Typically, a lower priced home that has investors, first-time buyers, is going to sell faster than something that's higher priced. The condition, again, of the property can make all the difference in the world. The time of year, we do see a lot of seasonality right now. Where I am, there's snow covered all the ground everywhere. So if you've got a beautiful landscape, but it's covered in snow and ice, perhaps you want to wait till that thaws and melts away. Pricing, that was kind of a mistake that we ended up making, at least I feel personally. Price your house, especially if you need to sell it in order to qualify and go out and buy another home. Be aggressive in pricing your house to get interest and perhaps multiple offers. Don't try to get the top dollar. Don't overlist your home. There's a statistic, and I'll try to pull this up when I do this class again, about what you listed a home for and what it ended up selling for. And I think where we ended up listing our home and selling it for about 12% below the original list price. And the statistic was it took about 120 days for those properties that were listed about 10 to 15% too high. It took them 4 months to get sold, and we were right in the line with all those statistics that came out back in 2024, beginning of 2025. So overlisting your price, not pricing it correctly, can be a huge mistake. Again, work with the right real estate professional, and be prepared. If you are in a situation, you could always rent your home back, do what's called a rent back, where you could sell your house and you could stay in your home for up to 60 days, renting it back from the person who purchased it. Again, if you're in a situation where you haven't found your right home, you've got young kids, a lot of things to move, having a rent back, whether it's 3 days, 30 days, or 60 days, can really be helpful. So if that's something that you need, talk to your real estate agent. We see those in our market often, and it's pretty common. Maybe not a 60-day rent back, but maybe gets you a couple extra days after closing, so then you can go out and start moving your stuff into the new home. So when is the right time to stay? Well, there's emotion behind every real estate decision, I feel like. And sometimes you feel like this is the home that I brought my kids home from the hospital. This is, we've become really close with the neighborhood. You're in the house. If you got a good property, it's stable. You're not, you can kind of predict about what the cost is to kind of stay there. You got, familiarity, control. If you're in a situation, what we're looking to do, which is to find our next home being a home that we can age in place, one level ranch style home, and there's really no reason. You might be unhappy with some things in your house. Well, go buy a new couch or go rearrange the furniture. You don't need to go out and sell your home or move just because you're kind of getting bored with it. Paint some rooms, some fun colors, or do something different. I know for me, having grown up and been a military brat, I do, after a couple months, get really tired of, the furniture being in the same place and seeing the same things. And so I always am rearranging the furniture in the house, or improving or buying new furniture. It's just the thing that I do if I end up staying in a home for long. I totally think that's a better solution than just going out and selling your home, because selling your home is it's more expensive than buying a home, honestly. And you can do certain things just to make your home, meet your needs, right? The renovations, updating the kitchens and the bathrooms, doing those small little things might make it a little bit more favorable for you. But a few things to consider. Again, the maintenance and the upkeep for us, that was a deal breaker. We were no longer willing to continue to pour the amount of money that was into the property that we were in, because it wasn't our dream home. There was a lot of issues with it, and we knew we were going to be here for long, so we just wanted to pull the ripcord and get out of there, because our future needs were different than what we're currently living. And your community resources, again, we have a lot of people who might be retiring and moving out of the area, downsizing. Think about where you're moving to and making sure that it's got the hospitals, the resources that you need. I know a lot of people have sold their homes and moved further out where things are a little bit more affordable. And then they end up coming back, every weekend or so often, just because they don't have the right medical facilities that they needed, and things like that. So again, really some food for thought there. So debt consolidation. If you are in a situation where, perhaps cash is a little bit tight, you can always look at doing a debt consolidation, using the equity that you have. Again, we talked about this earlier on. That money is sitting there. That's your money. That equity is yours. There's just a lot of different ways that you can tap into it. Selling the home to get that equity may not be the best option for you. You might be surprised, end up having to sell the house for less, or what have you. So you can always tap into the equity with a home equity line of credit, or home equity loan, or just your traditional cash out refinance. We can always run the comparisons for all of these different options for you and figure out what's the best. And I don't see there's any questions. So hopefully this was helpful. Again, this is kind of just scratching the surface when it comes to the move up buyer dilemma. Should you rent, should you sell, or should you stay? If there are any other things you want us to talk about, get into specifics, finding scenarios, kind of run some numbers for you in the future, please let me know. But other than that, I appreciate you coming on and spending the past half an hour with me. I hope it was valuable. And if there's anything I could ever do for you, again, in the future, please let me know. Once again, my name is Tim Kelly. I'm a loan officer right outside of Washington, D.C. And the goal of this channel is to help you manage your mortgage and finance your real estate goals. Appreciate you. Have a wonderful Tuesday.